Hey guys, welcome to Burns Addiction, a new channel dedicated to discussing record collecting, hi-fi equipment, DJing, mixers, anything related to the culture of collecting and spinning records. My name is Burn. I've been collecting records for 20 years. I lived in New York City, São Paulo, Mexico City, DJing and collecting records the whole time. I'm really excited to share my record collection with you guys and talk about different topics related to the culture of collecting and spinning great records. Today I will be reviewing the MasterSounds Two Valve MK2, the latest edition of MasterSounds Radius Valve series. This is the regular mixer without the linear power supply. That is an accessory that I'm looking into purchasing. So today I will just be reviewing the basic edition of the Valve mixer. I will break down this review into three sections. First, I will cover the basics of the mixer. Then I'll talk a little bit about the special features that this mixer has. And then lastly, I'll just do a general wrap up, my general impressions, and my overall recommendation on this mixer. So the first thing I want to talk about were the gains and volumes on this mixer. Unlike a lot of rotaries, you have a lot of different levels of gain and volume on here. You've got the channel volumes, which all rotary mixers have, right? It's the main channel. But you also actually have a channel gain, which is a rarity amongst rotary mixers. And then of course you have your master and your booth. What I like about this setup is having the individual channel gains trims allows you to match tracks before mixing them. I actually found that feature to be kind of useful, even though I was previously used to using a rotary mixer that did not have that. The rest of the volume knobs and channel gains feel absolutely great. I think the overall quality of the knobs is far superior to other cheaper rotary mixers that I've used in the past. And overall, I found that the trim was a helpful feature. When looking at the Q section of this mixer, you do have split Q, which many people request on their rotaries. It's not something that I personally use, but it is nice to see. My personal way of mixing, I like to listen to the individual channel and then bring in the mix, which this mixer does allow you to do. One thing that was confusing me a little bit at first was when I was bringing the mix, I couldn't really hear it very loudly, and that was because I was mixing with my rotary knobs at about the noon position for what I wanted to have as my max volume. And as a result, the volume of the mix in the Q section was quite low. And so what I learned was that the Q section was pulling the volume of the mix from specifically the channel volume on the rotary knob, not from the master, not really from the booth. And so you really have to get used to mixing with this mixer at around the 1, 2, 3 o'clock position even, if you want to be using the add mix as a way to do the mixing in the Q section. So now let's talk about the isolators on the mixer. The isolators, to me personally, are very nice. They are full kill on taking it down in volume, so it's minus infinity as it's labeled here. And you can get up to 12 decibels gain in terms of turning it up. For me, that's sufficient. I personally use the isolators really more for like bass kills when I'm mixing, or just to EQ a track generally when I'm listening to records at home. For me, I found the isolator to be sufficient. That said, I have used the Condesa, I have used the ARS, and those mixers do boost more. And so if you're looking to get a little bit more intense and performative with your mixing using the ISOs, then maybe this is not the mixer for you. For me, I found it to be sufficient, and so I actually quite like the ISOs being a little more subtle than on other rotaries. So what makes this mixer special? I think that there are three features that really make this mixer stand out from the rest of the pack. And those are the tubes / valves, whatever you want to call them, on the preamps, the crossfader, and the filter. So the first special feature I'd like to talk about are the tubes / valves in the preamps of this mixer. I really like this feature. I personally love the sound of tubes, and I found that the way that it was done within this mixer was fantastic. Everything sounds very spacious, very warm, very clear, just the way you want it to sound from a tube-based piece of gear. One thing that you have to keep in mind is you can't access the tubes, at least not easily, and so you can't really tube roll. You can't change the tubes for different kinds of tubes. And also, tubes do wear out. MasterSounds has said that they should last for the lifetime of this mixer. I'm not quite sure what the useful life of this mixer is, but it would be kind of nice if eventually in the future we could get into the tubes easily and maybe tube roll. That said, that's probably a feature that concerns more hi-fi and audiophile people versus DJs, but it's something to note. Perhaps the most interesting feature of this mixer are the high-pass filters on each channel. What's interesting about these filters is that they're very clean until around the noon position, and then they add resonance. This is the so-called variable Q feature that MasterSounds put in place here. I found that the filters are fantastic for mixing. They blend beautifully, and in many ways they remind me of the filters present in the Alan Heath series of mixers, where you had the mild and wild features that you could apply to each of the filters. That's more or less the same thing, with it being mild here until about noon and then wild past noon. I actually really like the way it's built in here, and we shouldn't be surprised at the quality of these filters given that Andy Rigby Jones designed the Alan Heath mixers, actually designed this mixer as well. And so if you like to mix with Alan Heath Zone mixers, you're gonna really love playing with these filters. The final unique feature on this mixer is the inclusion of a crossfader, something you will not find on other boutique rotary mixers. The crossfader is an innofader, and you can actually choose the crossfade contour. Overall, I am not a scratch DJ, I don't play a lot of hip hop, so I haven't found myself using it very much. But to be honest, it is kind of nice to have. At times I will just slam in a track with it just for fun. But unless you really are a scratch mixer, you probably aren't going to be using this very much. Overall, I absolutely love this mixer. I've had it now for about a month, and I couldn't be happier with my investment here. As a preamp for listening to records, it sounds fantastic. As a mixer, it's a blast to play with. The filters, the isolators give you a ton of mixing options, and it just makes for an overall groovy, smooth mix. So why did I get this mixer? I did look at the other boutique mixers in the market, the Isono, the ARS, the ENS, and the Condesa, and I decided to opt for the MasterSounds for a couple of reasons. The first was the inclusion of tubes in the preamps. That's something that I really value. I really do enjoy having those tubes there. The second was the filters. I love having the high-pass filters on my channels. It's a feature that I always loved having on my old Alan Heath Zone mixers. So to see it on a rotary was something that was unique and really valuable for me. Price is another reason why I opted for this mixer. I thought it was an overall fair price for all the features that you're getting. And then lastly, the customer experience and customer service. I was able to purchase this mixer online, shipped to Mexico within a week, and any questions that I had were promptly answered by MasterSounds. That's a real factor when you're making an investment of over $2,000 in a piece of sound equipment. What I've seen and heard and experienced with the other boutique mixers was that it was going to take me over a year to get these mixers from Australia, France, other places, and the customer experience and communication was just not quite the same. Not as fast as what MasterSounds was offering. So overall, I love this mixer. If you're interested in rotaries and you like Alan Heath mixers, you want filters, this is the perfect combination for you. Thank you for watching the first episode of Burns Addiction. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you learned something. And I would please ask you to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment. Always happy to debate hi-fi with you guys, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Burns Addiction. Thank you.